In the distant future, humanity had evolved far beyond its primitive beginnings, establishing a sprawling empire that stretched across galaxies and fostered connections with countless alien civilizations. While some encounters were with benevolent species that offered cooperation and shared knowledge, others proved hostile, challenging humanity's very existence. Among the most formidable of these races were the Zari, known throughout the cosmos for their brutal conquests and cold, calculated strategies. They were not merely conquerors. They thrived on the fear they instilled in their enemies, sowing discord and despair wherever they went. The Zari had conquered worlds and enslaved entire species, reveling in the power they wielded. Yet they had never encountered a species quite like humanity, a race marked by resilience and an indomitable spirit. On the remote planet of Elysia, a lush world rich in resources, the Zari had set their sights on what they deemed a prize worth claiming. Eager to exploit the planet's abundant mineral deposits, they dispatched a fleet to seize control. The human colony established on Elysia was relatively new, having been founded only a few years prior, and was ill-equipped for a confrontation of such magnitude. However, the colonists were not just farmers and miners. They were the descendants of warriors, survivors who had faced adversity for generations. Their ancestors had battled against tyrants and oppressive regimes, cultivating a legacy of strength and determination that now burned brightly within them. Commander Jenna stood on the observation deck of the colony's command center, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the approaching Zari ships loomed ominously. Their sleek, dark vessels glimmered against the backdrop of swirling stars, a foreboding sight that stirred a mixture of dread and resolve within her. She felt the weight of her responsibility to her people, knowing that the Zari had severely underestimated the tenacity of humanity. They had seen the consequences of pushing others too far, and Jenna was determined to ensure that this time would be no different. "Commander, they're hailing us," her second-in-command, Lieutenant Daniel Grant, announced, breaking her reverie. His voice was steady, but she could sense the tension in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. "Put them through," Jenna replied, her voice calm even as her heart raced in her chest. She needed to project strength to her team and to the Zari. The screen flickered to life, revealing a Zari warlord, his elongated features twisted into a cruel smirk. "Human commander," he began, his tone dripping with condescension, "we are here to take what is rightfully ours. Surrender your resources and we may spare your lives." Jenna's heart raced, but she steeled herself against the warlord's intimidation tactics. "You think you can intimidate us into submission?" she shot back, her voice unwavering. "You don't know who you're dealing with?" The warlord's smirk faded as he studied her face, perhaps realizing that she was not afraid. "Do you truly believe your primitive tactics can withstand the might of the Zari? Your resistance is futile." Leaning forward, Jenna locked eyes with the warlord, her gaze fierce. "You want war? We'll give you war, but don't underestimate us. We fight for our home, our families, and we will not back down." The warlord's eyes narrowed dangerously, but before he could respond, the transmission abruptly ended. Jenna turned to her team, a fire ignited in her belly. "Prepare for battle. We have to defend our colony, and we need to make every moment count." As the Zari fleet descended upon Elysia, the humans had fortified their position, utilizing the planet's diverse terrain to their advantage. They had set traps, dug trenches, and devised guerrilla tactics honed over centuries of conflict. When the first wave of Zari soldiers landed, they were met with a ferocity they had not anticipated. Explosions rocked the landscape as the colonists fought back with everything they had. The Zari, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with sheer force, found themselves outmaneuvered and outsmarted. Jenna led a small team into the fray, darting through the dense forests with agility and stealth. Each ambush against Zari patrols was executed with precision, the colonists working together as a well-oiled machine. Every victory they achieved was hard-won, but it ignited a spark of hope among the colonists. They were not just defending their homes, they were rising to the challenge, inspired by their commander's resolve and the legacy of their ancestors. Armed with improvised weapons and a fierce determination to protect their way of life, the colonists banded together, forging an unbreakable spirit of resistance. As the days turned into a relentless battle of attrition, the Zari soon realized that this conflict would not be as simple as they had anticipated. The humans displayed an uncanny ability to adapt and evolve their strategies, constantly finding new ways to outwit their technologically superior foes. Their resourcefulness became a formidable weapon, as they repurposed the Zari's own tactics against them. The humans' willingness to fight and sacrifice for one another transformed the tide of the battle. Jenna knew that the Zari would not relent easily, but she also understood that every moment they fought back would count. They were teaching their enemies a valuable lesson, that humanity could not be broken. As the battles raged on, Jenna began to see glimpses of a future where the Zari's cruelty could be countered by human ingenuity and the fierce will to survive. Her leadership inspired the colonists to rise above their fears, to become the warriors they had always been destined to be. With each passing day as their numbers dwindled, the Zari began to recognize the human resolve that had been awakened. No longer were they facing a colony of frightened settlers. They were confronting a determined force willing to protect their home at all costs. The Zari's initial confidence began to erode, replaced by an unsettling realization. They were not just battling for resources but were now locked in a fight against an indomitable spirit that refused to yield. The battle for Elysia would become a defining moment in the history of humanity and the Zari. Jenna's steadfast leadership and the courage of her people would not only reshape the fate of the colony but would echo across the galaxies. Word of their resistance began to spread, igniting hope in other oppressed worlds that had long suffered under the Zari's rule. The tides of power were shifting, and Jenna could feel the weight of history upon her shoulders as she fought to carve a future not just for Elysia, but for all of humanity. As the Zari regrouped and planned their next assault, Jenna and her team continued to fortify their defenses, preparing for the inevitable clash that would determine the fate of their colony. Each strategy session was infused with urgency and determination, as they brainstormed ways to outsmart their opponents while rallying their fellow colonists. It was more than just a fight for survival. It was a battle to assert humanity's place in the galaxy and to show that they would not be cowed into submission. In the face of overwhelming odds, Jenna emerged as a symbol of hope and defiance, her courage inspiring others to join the fight. Together they were not just defending a colony, they were igniting a movement that would challenge the very foundations of the Zari Empire. As the final confrontation loomed, Jenna knew that the outcome would reverberate far beyond Elysia. It would serve as a testament to the strength of humanity, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, they could rise, united against their oppressors. When the moment arrived for the decisive battle, the air was thick with tension. The Zari launched their full-scale assault, their ships filling the skies above Elysia. Yet, Jenna felt a surge of determination swell within her. As the sounds of war echoed around her, she understood that the outcome was not merely about winning or losing. It was about resilience, unity, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. With her fellow colonists by her side, she prepared to fight not just for their survival, but for the future of their people and for every world that longed for freedom. The legacy of their ancestors surged through them, a reminder that they were more than just settlers, they were warriors and they would never back down from a fight. As the Zari ships descended like a swarm of dark clouds, the atmosphere was charged with a mix of fear and resolve. Jenna and her team took their positions, their hearts pounding in sync with the distant sounds of engines roaring and weapons firing. The Zari warlord had made his intentions clear. He sought to crush any semblance of resistance and assert dominance over Elysia. Yet, Jenna knew that fear could be a double-edged sword. For the Zari, it had served as a tool for control, but for her people, it ignited a fierce desire to fight for what was theirs. Each colonist had something to protect: homes, families, and a future. It was this love that fueled their determination and transformed their fear into a weapon of its own. The first waves of Zari troops landed, their armored forms advancing with relentless precision. Jenna's heart raced, but she steeled herself, recalling the training and tactics they had honed in preparation for this very moment. With a swift motion, she signaled her team to initiate their defense plans. The sounds of gunfire erupted, and the humans fought back with a fierce ferocity that left the Zari momentarily stunned. They had anticipated an easy victory, but instead, they faced a united front of colonists fighting with a desperation born from a desire to protect their way of life. Explosions lit up the battlefield as human ingenuity took center stage. Traps hidden within the terrain ensnared Zari soldiers, while snipers picked off targets from concealed positions. It was a dance of survival, each move executed with precision and purpose. As the battle raged on, Jenna found herself in the thick of it, coordinating her team's movements while keeping a watchful eye on the battlefield. The sound of her comrades' voices resonated in her ears, a chorus of determination amidst chaos. Each victory, no matter how small, bolstered their spirits and instilled a sense of hope that reverberated through the ranks. They were not merely defending against an invader, they were writing a new chapter in their history. The Zari forces, accustomed to imposing their will through sheer force, began to falter. What had started as a calculated invasion turned into a desperate struggle for survival as they realized they were facing a force unlike any they had encountered before. The humanity that the Zari had dismissed as weak was now emerging as a formidable enemy, fueled by a collective resolve that could not be easily extinguished. With every clash, every skirmish, Jenna's belief in her people grew stronger, and she knew that this battle would not only define their fate but echo across the stars, inspiring others to rise against oppression. The battle on Elysia had transformed from a skirmish into a brutal contest, one that would become a defining moment in humanity's history. The once feared Zari invaders, known for their brutal conquests and cold calculations, found themselves facing a force they had grossly underestimated. Days of conflict wore on, each side suffering significant losses, yet the human spirit shone bright against the darkness of despair. The colonists who had begun as simple farmers and miners, now emerged as fierce warriors, united in purpose and fueled by an unyielding resolve. Commander Jenna, a figure of tenacity and leadership, became a symbol of resistance. Her name whispered among the Zari as they struggled to comprehend the ferocity with which the humans fought back. As the clashes continued, the Zari realized they were not merely facing soldiers, but a tenacious force determined to protect their homes, families, and way of life. The Zari, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies through sheer power, found themselves increasingly frustrated by humanity's ingenuity and resilience. Jenna's strategic mind began to craft plans that would turn the tide in their favor. Reports filtered in regarding a Zari commander, Warlord Zealer, who was preparing a full-scale assault on the colony's main compound. The news sent a chill down Jenna's spine. She understood that this could mean the end of their resistance. In that moment, she devised a daring plan that would utilize the very resources the Zari sought to control. Under the cover of night, Jenna and her team moved with stealth and precision. They set explosives around a key mineral deposit, creating the illusion of retreat while intentionally baiting the Zari into believing they had the upper hand. The trap was carefully laid, each detail meticulously planned to ensure maximum effectiveness. As darkness enveloped Elysia, the Zari descended like vultures, their ships casting ominous shadows over the landscape. Eager to claim their prize, they advanced toward the seemingly abandoned site. Jenna's heart raced, knowing that the success of their plan hinged on a moment of calculated risk. When the Zari were gathered closely around the mineral deposit, she triggered the explosives, and a brilliant explosion erupted, lighting up the night sky like a second sun. Chaos erupted among the Zari ranks as the force of the blast caught them off guard. The carefully orchestrated plan unleashed a wave of confusion, shattering their sense of superiority. Taking full advantage of the disarray, Jenna led her team into the fray, launching a final assault with a fierceness born of desperation and hope. As the sounds of battle echoed across the landscape, Jenna fought alongside her team, her heart pounding with adrenaline. Each clash of weapons, every shouted command, fueled her determination. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for every human who had ever faced down oppression, every soul that had been denied the right to live freely. The tide began to turn as the Zari, disoriented and demoralized, started to falter. The humans pressed on, their spirits lifted by the momentum of their unexpected success. The Zari warlord, witnessing the collapse of his forces, realized too late that he had underestimated humanity's resolve. In a fit of rage, he ordered a retreat, vowing revenge against those who dared to challenge the might of the Zari Empire. The Zari ships, once so imposing, now fled Elysia's atmosphere, their dark silhouettes disappearing into the void of space. As Jenna stood atop a hill overlooking the retreating enemy, a wave of triumph surged through her. The colonists erupted into cheers around her, their spirits lifted by the improbable victory they had achieved together. They had faced a seemingly insurmountable foe and emerged stronger, united by their determination and indomitable will. In the aftermath of the battle, Jenna gathered her team. Their faces were smeared with dirt and sweat, but illuminated by the glow of triumph that radiated from within. "We've shown them what it means to challenge humanity," she declared, her voice steady and fierce. "We are not just survivors, we are fighters. This victory is just the beginning." Her words ignited a spark of pride among her comrades. Word of their victory spread throughout the galaxy, resonating with other oppressed species who had long suffered under the yoke of tyranny. Humanity had stood against the Zari and won, inspiring countless others to rise up and take a stand against their oppressors. The universe was changing and humanity was ready to face it head-on. As Jenna gazed into the stars, she reflected on the tumultuous journey that had brought them to this moment. War had been thrust upon them, but they had embraced it with unwavering courage. The Zari had learned a valuable lesson that day: never underestimate humanity. Each battle fought and every challenge met would continue to carve out humanity's place in the cosmos. They had declared their existence, and they would not be silenced. The legend of Elysia began to grow, a testament to human resilience and determination in the face of war. United by their experiences, the humans discovered newfound strength. They recognized that their survival was tied not only to their individual abilities but also to their unity. The once innocent settlers had transformed into a formidable fighting force. In the days following the battle, the colonists worked tirelessly to fortify their defenses, ensuring they would be prepared for any future incursions. They trained rigorously, honing their skills and strategies, determined to never again find themselves caught off guard. Jenna and her team worked side by side with the colonists, sharing knowledge and resources, fostering a sense of camaraderie that would prove invaluable in the challenges to come. As the whispers of their victory reached far and wide, other oppressed species began to take notice. The tales of humanity's triumph over the Zari began to spread like wildfire, sparking hope in the hearts of those who had long believed that resistance was futile. Jenna received messages from distant worlds, each one echoing a similar theme: a desire for freedom and a willingness to rise up against their oppressors. The galaxy was awakening, and humanity stood at the forefront of this revolution. Jenna felt a surge of pride at the realization that their fight was no longer theirs alone. They had become a beacon of hope for others seeking to break free from the chains of tyranny. As months passed, the scars of battle began to heal, both physically and emotionally. The colony on Elysia, once a simple outpost, transformed into a center of resilience and unity. The colonists welcomed those from other worlds seeking refuge, offering a safe haven for all who dared to dream of a brighter future. Together, they forged alliances, sharing knowledge and strategies to prepare for the inevitable confrontations with those who sought to impose their will upon them. Jenna knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast and filled with both threats and opportunities. Humanity had faced one formidable foe, but many more lurked in the shadows, waiting to test their resolve. In the quiet moments after the chaos, Jenna often found herself reflecting on what it meant to be human. She understood that their strength lay not just in their ability to fight but in their capacity to hope, to unite, and to inspire others. With every battle fought and every challenge met, they would continue to carve out their place in the cosmos. The humans had declared their existence, and they would not be silenced. As Jenna gazed into the stars, she felt a profound sense of purpose. They were no longer the underdogs. They were a force to be reckoned with, determined to shape their destiny and the destiny of those who dared to dream of freedom. The legend of Elysia would serve as a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope could ignite a fire that would light the way forward. As the colony thrived in the wake of their victory, a new sense of identity began to emerge among the humans. They were no longer just settlers on a distant planet. They were a community forged in the crucible of conflict. The tales of bravery and sacrifice became woven into the very fabric of their society, inspiring a culture that valued resilience, innovation, and unity. Jenna, now a revered leader, organized gatherings to commemorate their hard-won freedom, where stories of their struggles and triumphs were shared around roaring fires. These nights became a cherished tradition, fostering bonds between the colonists and the new arrivals who sought solace in their newfound home. Through storytelling, they kept the memory of their battles alive, ensuring that future generations would know the price of their freedom and the spirit of those who fought for it. Meanwhile, as word of humanity's resilience spread throughout the galaxy, their former foes, the Zari, were forced to reassess their strategies. The defeat at Elysia rippled through the ranks of the Zari Empire, causing unease among their leaders. The Zari warlords, once confident in their superiority, found themselves questioning their approach to conquest. They dispatched scouts to gather intelligence on humanity, seeking to understand what made them so formidable. This newfound scrutiny only fueled humanity's resolve, as they understood that their victory had ignited something far greater than mere survival. It had sparked a revolution that could inspire countless oppressed species to rise against their oppressors. In the months that followed, the humans began to take a more proactive role in the galaxy, seeking to forge alliances with other civilizations who had long suffered under the yoke of tyranny. Diplomatic envoys were sent to neighboring worlds, offering assistance and support to those yearning for freedom. Jenna understood that their fight was not solely against the Zari but against the very concept of oppression itself. Each successful alliance formed and every oppressed species liberated added strength to their growing coalition. With every step, humanity was not just carving out its place among the stars, it was lighting the way for others to follow, proving that together they could stand against any force that sought to impose its will through fear and domination. As Jenna gazed out at the stars from the observation deck of their command center, she knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but with each passing day, humanity was becoming a force for good in a galaxy filled with darkness. The legend of Elysia would not only be a testament to their struggle but also a beacon of hope for those who dared to dream of freedom.